Okay, we're going to look at how we get new resumes and new clients into the system. So as mentioned before, new resumes can actually be bulk uploaded, or they can be sourced electronic from a system. As soon as they come in, they can be done in batch or real time. Here we'll just look at a simple batch file that's uploaded into the system. And once that's actually done, it will pass the resumes and pass a quality check, and then direct us to a list where we can process them all. Now this basically pushes them through the AI engine to meet a certain criteria, but then it runs all of those prompts we saw before to extract information. Now this is a list of candidates that we've already got in the system, so I'll just do one to parse the system to just show how that workflow works. So that goes through and it just cycles through them all and then alerts us to when they're done. So we can actually see an example of one that's been done. It just basically extracts all the information into a table. We can then save that to the database, and that will just happen in the background. Again, these can be batched, and we can do whatever we want there to suit the workflow and the timing of how we do those. It can be done overnight, or they can be done in real time. If we then go through to look at a particular resume, this is part of the onboarding process. So we can actually look at an individual resume, push it through the prompts and the AI engine, and it will come up with a summary. Now we can look at this and look at strengths and weaknesses. We can push it through any kind of filter that makes sense to actually how, if we want to look at some red flags, or we want to get back to the candidate of actually, their resume is not really, strong enough, or it's missing information, or it may highlight some questions and some flags. That's just a really good quality tool before we actually push them through any further analysis. Now we've got very common things like searching resumes, but look, at a really important feature here is match request. We can actually do some early analysis to actually see, for example, let's evaluate all candidates that were received in the last 24 hours against a CIO role that we've got on the go. And this can actually give us an understanding of whether that quality, that resume quality, has actually passed the tests, and whether we actually need to hone in on anything. So this will just run a quick matching algorithm and give us an understanding of what the strengths and weaknesses are within this. So each particular candidate has been reviewed, and some will be good, some won't be. This one has a strong enterprise risk background, and that's directly going against the CIO's job description as how we've broken it down. So these are just some quality checks that we can do to generate these shortlists and to get some understanding of what our early demand of candidates is looking like, because this can inform whether we actually need to stay in the market, whether we need to broaden the net, whether we need to use any other kind of sourcing to find a candidate, or whether even the job request needs tweaking. All of these things are juxtaposed against each other to just give us that insight at a faster rate. So if we jump back through to the role request, and we've got client candidates in the bucket that have been approved, we can then go through and look at a particular role description. So if we look at one for BHP, assuming we've got the brief into the system, we then go through and push it through the AI engine to extract information. Again, it's using all those prompts that we saw before. So it will give us the kind of information, the key requirements, any other kind of supporting statement, anything about the background or culture of the organization that might be important. We can do value matching there. And then we push it through to process the role attributes, which means that we're going down to a higher degree of granularity and stripping out some of the tags that will be used in the really fast search. And this is responsible for being able to look at across a wide range of data, namely candidates, but also we might be able to incorporate some other particular documents or information that pertains to the role. We might look at industry standards, we might look at governance standards, or even education standards that bolsters the actual analysis. So once we've actually got those, we can then save that to the database and close it. But that just forms another pillar of data that goes into the analysis. Once we've got the job description or the role request codified like that, we can then run an analysis of approved candidates against the role. And this will give us the top 5 of all these people with a ranking. Now there is a science behind the ranking, and again that's in the prompt. and that can really reflect any kind of standard or calculation. And we'll talk about that a bit later. So this gives a high level view and a low level view. And from experience, the most insightful piece of information is the gap or concern. Now, we've seen in some candidate analyses where this is actually strong enough to be able to determine interview questions to probe in deeper and to use the AI engine to go back through the resume and test the question against their experience and what they're saying. So a future direction for this may even go into social media, where we're looking at discussions and things like that. That's all subject to privacy, and it's on the roadmap. So we've got 5 candidates here, and we can push those through, save it as a shortlist, and we can even get into recommendations. However, recommendations require a certain amount of data to have been processed to actually get those findings that really underpin the value and the truth of the recommendations. So that's something that's earned as we go along. So that is the processing of the role request. We'll next go and look at the interviews.